AI can accelerate everything, but if you don't have a clear strategy and alignment across leadership, you're just scaling inefficiency faster. Before you invest in tools or systems, you need to know why they matter, how you measure impact, and whether your organization is built to move fast enough to see results. That's a quote from Mark Goloboy and a sneak peek at today's episode. Welcome to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. I'm your host, Kerry Curran, revenue growth expert, industry analyst, and relentless advocate for turning marketing into a revenue engine. Each episode, we bring you the strategies, insights, and conversations that help your revenue growth. Search for Revenue Boost in your favorite podcast directory and hit subscribe to stay ahead of the game. In a world where AI is evolving faster than your org chart, how do you build a marketing engine that's both smart and scalable? In From Strategy to Speed, Building a Modern Marketing Engine with AI, I sat down with Mark Goloboy. He's the founder of Market Growth Consulting. We unpack how AI is transforming B2B marketing and why strategy still comes first. From RAG pipelines and LLM optimization to lean team structures and rapid execution, Mark shares what today's business leaders need to know to move fast, stay aligned, and drive measurable growth. If you're tired of the AI hype and ready for more practical ways to accelerate performance, this one's for you. Be sure to listen through to the end where Mark shares what you need to do to get started with building your AI marketing engine today. Let's go. So welcome, Mark. Please introduce yourself and share your background and expertise.
Excellent. Thank you, Kerry, for having me. Mark Goloboy. I'm the founder and CEO of Market Growth Consulting. We provide a variety of services to everything from small to public companies. So our clients are everything from a private manufacturer north of Boston to global public companies. My background is on the sales-facing side of marketing. So I've been the head of demand gen, marketing operations, marketing analytics, as I was growing up in marketing into marketing leadership. And about 2.5 years ago, I went out on my own to work with sometimes CEOs to fill in the marketing gaps. So at smaller companies, we place fractional CMOs and heads of demand gen to lead marketing, and then fill in subcontractors and agencies to do the work. At larger companies, we do projects where we do everything from marketing strategy, org strategy, budgeting, go-to-market strategy, to building out systems. We're doing a HubSpot to Salesforce and Marketo migration right now. And then we do executive staffing. We'll place director through chief marketing officer as either contract temp to perm, so our clients get to try before they buy, or as contingent staffing, where if we find the right person, the client hires them and gets their marketing leader for the future.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. So you've seen it all. You're still very involved in all levels of business challenges and needs from a marketing and demand gen and growth go-to-market perspective. So lots of hot topics we could cover. But what are you kind of hearing about the most? Your clients are asking the most, like what's the hottest for them today?
So marketing really got big in 22 and 23 in terms of size of departments. Mm-hmm. And then I think a lot of us felt like venture capital backed especially, but all companies wanted to get smaller in 23 and 24. And that was a really painful thing that a lot of us went through with colleagues and with companies that we were working with. And just no one was spending as much money on marketing. Mm-hmm. So as everyone is coming back over the course of 24 into 25, they're looking at how do they do more with less? And how do they think about fractional or contract roles in places that before I was out on my own consulting, I would have never considered for a contractor. And they're looking at leadership and strategy in ways that we would have never staffed previously.
Hmm.
That extends into AI driven marketing, where every leader is looking to be more efficient and scale faster and better by using tools that do the jobs of some of the marketing work. And there's a real challenge right now for marketing leaders to figure out what is the balance between I need this person on my team, I need to spend money on this thing versus what I can produce in AI faster and more scalably and review with human eyes and brains
Hmm.
can make me a better marketer. And that's a real challenge that I think everyone is facing right now.
Yeah, I agree. And you see so many tools, new emerging tools. I think if you search for AI in MarTech today, there's a substantial increase of companies or people saying that they have something new, have something different. But AI actually, it means a lot of things. And you and I were talking earlier. Sometimes you kind of dig in to the formula and structure behind the nomenclature of just AI, and so it means a lot of things. So what are you seeing from that perspective?
Well, I think like the big challenge for me, I'm a solo entrepreneur. I run my own business with just myself, and I'm not looking to hire anyone. I do all of my work through subcontractors who are experts in what they do, and I hire them because they're the best person available to do it. And generally, I hire for likability and capability, where if I find someone that my clients like and can do the work better than anyone else, they're going to keep hiring me over and over again. But as a solo, I need to figure out how do I do the work efficiently and wear many hats at once so that I
Hmm.
can keep that up and go to market the way I want to. And because of that, I'm using AI every single day. And what I do and kind of coach my clients to do is start the day by looking at like what do they have on their plate and deciding which of those things could AI help me with. So when I look and say I've got a deliverable due or a proposal due or a project plan due, and I'm going to spend 2 hours on that today, I pause and say, how could I use AI to do this better, faster, more scalably
Hmm.
myself? Not even for marketing, just for
Yeah.
internal management. And that often leads to experimentation with new tools and, like each of the major frontier models, OpenAI and Google Gemini and Claude and others, they're developing rapidly. Every time I
Hmm.
go into OpenAI and try something, it's a little different than the last time I looked. And
Hmm.
the outputs are getting better constantly, but that means that I have to keep trying and saying, like, could I write a project plan with? Could I write I'll use it as an example. We were meeting with a prospect last week that was using an ABM tool that I'd never heard of. And I wanted to present myself as an expert on that call. So I just put in how does that tool compare to 6sense and Demandbase that I know well. I'm partnered with 6sense and I used to own Demandbase instances at two different companies. Um, and it laid out 4 pages of research on each of the three tools, the new one and the two, and then gave me a comparison grid. I would have had a junior person on my team spend a month or two on that
Hmm.
to get
Hmm.
the same level of output that OpenAI gave me in less than a minute. And it really speaks to not just what I can do internally, but just how fast this stuff is evolving.
Yep, I agree, and same from my end as well. There's things that I can do more quickly. We talked a bit about video editing. I've recently used Napkin.ai, which I highly recommend, that created visuals of all of
Yeah.
the text that I had written out to make more beautiful slides. And so there's so many ways that helps you get smarter and more efficient and effective for just running your own business.
Yeah, and then externally, we hear things from clients that they want to do, and we get to be the creative minds that take that back and say, how could we do that with AI? How could
Yep.
we write as the CEO of that company, even if
Hmm.
they're like we did a project last year where we set up AI an AI writer to be a PhD psychologist who had run a department at Columbia Med.
Wow.
And we trained it based on her writing, her interviews, and her videos. This is using Google Gemini that can take YouTube videos as inputs.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked it to write in her voice, and she couldn't tell what she had written versus Google Gemini had written. So this
Yeah.
was at a time in mid 24 where people were still saying AI writes in bland ways.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting there cranking out PhD level blog posts that the PhD can't tell whether she wrote or not.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, and yeah, it helps us do a lot more and get a lot more out of our hours and days, and just getting smarter. So, what are some of the other ways or tools you've developed for your clients to help them with their demand gen and other aspects of business?
Yeah, so um, I joke with my clients that I didn't know what the letters RAG meant in December, but they mean retrieval augmented generation, and that is developing an agentic pipeline to connect things that you have, whether they're data stores or a document or your internal systems, with the LLMs and move things between them so that you can get an output that is not just informed by the public LLM data, but all of your data. So we are developing RAG agentic pipelines, is what we would say. We are developing those pipelines for instance, right now we're doing that for a PR firm where the CEO prioritized the 3 use cases that would save her account managers the most time. And there are things like meeting scheduling, that when a client reschedules, they waste hours rescheduling meetings all day because of clients rescheduling. Contract review, they're doing placements into major sites, that you would know the names of all the sites they're doing placements in for their clients. But those contracts all need to be reviewed. So they're
Mm-hmm.
doing hundreds of contract reviews a month and know that AI could help there. And we've got a third use case, which is specific to the PR industry, where they're looking out across the web for where are all the mentions for their brands and then doing a daily summary for their clients. And that's one where each of their account managers spends over an hour per client per day. So when you multiply it out, you end up with
Mm-hmm.
some phenomenal return on investment when we save those people time. And as that PR firm grows, they don't have to hire more account managers.
Yeah, it's super valuable, and I love the way that it allows them to kind of free up time to be more strategic and less busy work. So, what are some of the steps, I guess, that are required for someone to kind of set this up? Like, how did you learn more about creating these pipelines in the RAG system?
So there's some really good places to learn. The first place I always recommend to people is the Marketing AI Institute. A guy named Paul Roetzer, Roetzer, is
Hmm.
who I learn from the most. So Paul does a 1 hour podcast each week where he and his content lead at the Marketing AI Institute lay out, here's everything that you need to know that changed since the last podcast. And it is rich. It is amazing how much information they were able to pack into an hour. And I listened at time and a half, so it was like 40 minutes, But
Hmm.
it tells me I don't care about everything they say, but I hear everything and know that thing matters to me and that thing matters to me. So I need to go deeper on them. And there's no other way I can learn that as fast as I do from Paul. I have a couple of marketers I love, Lisa
Hmm.
Adams and Nicole Leffer and Andy Crestadina are unreal at their ability to try things and tell you about them. Because like
Hmm.
you can't try as much as you need to, and they say this worked, go do it, and they're always right. Like if any of those things that are relevant to you, you can learn so fast through those 3 people.
Hey everyone, it's me, Kerry Curran. If you're a B2B company that sells to marketers, Whether you're an agency, MarTech, or AdTech, and your revenue is either flattening, declining, or just not growing fast enough, I can help. I've spent my entire career selling, marketing, and servicing marketers, so I know firsthand the challenges they face, the buying decisions they make, and what actually moves the needle. The truth is, most marketing strategies aren't built for revenue growth, but mine are. As your fractional chief growth officer, I'll bring revenue-focused marketing strategies designed specifically for selling to marketers, deep expertise in agency, MarTech, and AdTech buying behaviors, modern go-to-market strategies that include everything from brand awareness to driving loyalty and retention, and a track record of doubling and even tripling revenue for B2B companies just like yours. So if you're tired of your stagnant results and you're ready to build a marketing engine that actually drives revenue, let's talk. Visit revenuebasedmarketing.com or connect with me on LinkedIn to schedule a consultation. Together, let's build a smarter, more profitable path forward. RBMA, Revenue-Based Marketing Advisors, where revenue-based marketing that works. Yeah, thank you. And we'll be sure to include that all in the show notes as well. One thing you mentioned, though, is that in the podcast, they talk about what's changed in the past week. And so AI is changing quickly. So what do people need to keep in mind when they are kind of building these tools or leveraging different sources?
So I'm used to building very permanent, robust systems that when we own the CRM or marketing automation or ABM platform, we are building those things to get the value of for years.
Yeah.
And I have conversations with clients about some of the development we do is disposable.
Yeah.
And that's an important conversation to bring them into early. We will build systems with like this RAG agentic pipeline. We might not be talking about that a year from now. And there might be products that replace the code that we're building even sooner. So we need to heavily prioritize the efforts with the clients and say, we're not going to go all the way down your list. We're only going to do the top 3 because below that, you're never going to get ROI from and it's not worth it because the work that we do will be replaced. For example, OpenAI yesterday launched a new AI pipeline tool that replaced the one we were using. And the way we were building code for a client won't exist in 6 months from OpenAI, the biggest player. So like you have to be willing to adjust constantly in ways that we never had to previously for consulting or as the operator of a company. You need to be a lot more flexible and a lot more willing to pivot. And some people are good at that, and some people need to learn how to be that flexible with their thought because it's just developing so quickly.
Yeah, no, it made me think about, what you're saying is in a lot of organizations, it takes a long time just to get the buy-in and approval to start using one of these tools. So it's a whole culture and mind shift for a lot of leaders, especially on the marketing side.
I couldn't imagine a 1-year approval cycle in AI. It'd be the conversation would be moot by the time you got approval
Yep.
for it. The tools would have totally adjusted. You would have had to go back to the well to have the conversation again. So you need to develop faster review approval cycles to be able to take advantage of this stuff, or it's probably not right for you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, that's, a benefit of bringing someone like yourself in who's well versed at it and has that time and kind of curiosity to continue to research and know what is changing and what they need to be aware of.
Yes.
Right. Well, this is really helpful. So many great recommendations. I know we're all trying to get more efficient and effective with our time. So for people who are listening to this and they say, okay, I want to get started. I want to start building out, custom pipelines or leveraging the different AI tools. Like what are some of the foundations they need to have in place to get started, or what do they need to know to get started?
So I think a good strategy is the most important. So what we often find when we come into companies is that because of internal turnover,
Hmm.
with the sales leader left or the marketing leader left or its new CEO, there isn't alignment on the strategy. And if we're going to build a function, system, process, whatever we're going to build for a client, if there's not a good strategy that demands that investment, and there's not an understanding of how you'll measure to prove that that system was valuable, it's not going
Hmm.
to be successful. So what we do is we help have those conversations to start. We'll talk about why, maybe your account-based marketing system isn't working because you don't have a good strategy that demands it. And
Hmm.
maybe we need a conversation with the chief marketing officer and chief revenue officer to talk about why they're doing this and how it's going to filter in, or it's not the right thing for you and you should probably just disable that system. Because when we go in and try to fight that lack of strategy with systems and process and people,
Hmm.
it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So it's always good for us to start at the strategic level. The other thing I'll say that's really necessary for what we do is the ability to move fast. So like we are, if you want to move slowly, there are giant consulting firms that you pay a lot of money to move
Hmm.
slowly, and they'll be happy to take your money for years. We think on like a 3 to 6 month scale. So if you're not looking to
Hmm.
do a project in 3 to 6 months and then operate it and improve it over time, we're probably not for you. Like we're kicking off a project Monday, and today I sent them the request for all the access to the system so that we can be ready for Monday, not start on Monday for real. Like
Yeah.
it's we try to move fast. We're kind of we're the fun, innovative, speed version of projects. We're not the slow 10 people do it forever people. It's not us.
Yeah, that's an important point to make, and I think it brings back a lot of the topics and themes that we talk about on this podcast. Always come back to internal alignment on strategy, knowing like what your business goals are, why you're putting that into place, and making sure that's unified across the organization.
Yeah.
So really, really good point to share. One of the tools that you talked about being really beneficial for your clients helps with the trend of AI tools being search engines or competing with the search results. And so, talk about this what you're using to help
Yeah.
your clients kind of understand where the LLMs are sourcing the data and how they can help optimize for those.
So most of my clients are B2B. I do some B2C work, but most of what I grew up with and do for my clients is B2B.
Hmm.
And as a marketer, you need to be thinking, how do people learn about my tools? And the answer for as long as I can remember was Google,
Yeah.
right? You ask Google a question, you get an answer. So as a marketer, you're writing for Google. And that has changed over the last 2 years dramatically. That last week I was preparing for a call and I put into ChatGPT, how does a tool I've never heard of compared to 6sense and and Demand Base for ABM. And it answered in ways that I wasn't expecting because it was much deeper. It told me the pros and cons of the
Hmm.
tool that I was comparing, but also the pros and cons of 6sense and Demand Base. And what that was telling me is how important it is that what I'm doing is what everyone will do. And
Yeah.
that, some portion will still be Google, but we're probably talking 50-50 in a couple of years. Where right now it's probably still 70-30 or 80-20. But people are using LLMs a lot.
Hmm.
So we partnered with a tool that was the first of its kind that I had ever seen. And it started with a podcast like this, where the founder, who was talking about a different company that he founded, said offhand, and we're developing a tool to do dot, dot, dot. And I followed up with them immediately because I'd never heard of a tool that did that.
Yeah.
So what they do is look at, for your brand and keywords and your competitors, how would a buyer find an answer in the LLMs? Would you be a top recommendation? Would you be a positive or negative recommendation if they asked about specific attributes? But the really important thing that it's doing is it's showing you the sources of information that each LLM, Gemini, Claude, Llama, OpenAI, ChatGPT, that each of them use to source that relevant information from. So you can see the list of places to write, which is the biggest thing that's been missing for the last couple of years as LLMs have taken over, is where do I write to change the narrative? And we have a tool called Brand Luminaire that I'm partnering with and bringing to my clients as a balanced SEO and LLMO, or GEO, I think is the other term for it, but I like LLMO.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Balanced approach to writing so that you're writing in a way that benefits you in Google and benefits you in the LLMs.
No, that's excellent. And that's something that all brands are going to need to prioritize as search behavior
Yes.
expands beyond just Google. So, this is great, Mark. I really appreciate you sharing so many of your great tips and recommendations. So, for people listening, how do they get in touch with you to learn more about what you and your consultancy offer?
So they can email me directly, Mark at Market Growth Consulting. So I am a very functional branding person. I don't come up with clever names. I do market growth consulting, so that's what my company is called. And or they can connect with me on LinkedIn. I am easy to find. I have a unique last name.
Awesome. Great. Well, we will put that all in the show notes as well. But thank you, Mark, so much for being here and for sharing all of your expertise.
Thank you so much for having me, Kerry.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast. I hope today's conversation sparks some new ideas and challenge the way you think about how to incorporate AI into your marketing strategy and initiatives. If you're serious about turning marketing into a true revenue driver, this is just the beginning. We've got more insightful conversation, experts, guests, and actionable strategies coming your way. So search for us in your favorite podcast directory and hit subscribe. And hey, if this episode gave you value, share it with a colleague and leave a quick review. It helps more revenue-minded leaders like you find the show. Until next time, I'm Kerry Curran, helping you connect marketing to growth one episode at a time. We'll see you soon.